The first time I heard tires crunching across my front lawn, I thought it was an accident. The 47th time I was watching a tow truck chain tighten around a white BMW, while a local news camera zoomed in like it smelled a scandal. And right there under the streetlight glow, the HOA president realized her clipboard didn't outrank property lines. My name's Mark Reynolds. I'm 63, retired mechanical engineer living in a place called Maple Glen Estates. It's one of those suburbs where people wave with one hand and judge with the other, and the homeowners association acts like it's the actual government. I'm not wealthy, and retirement didn't land the way I planned. Medical bills show up like clockwork. Groceries cost more every month, and the cushion I thought I'd have isn't really a cushion. So yeah, my lawn mattered. It wasn't just grass. It was the one thing I could keep perfect straight lines, clean, edges, stripes you could see from the street. Quiet pride, the kind you don't post online, you just live with. Then Diane Whitmore rolled into my life. Diane was the HOA president. 49, always polished, always in heels, always carrying a clipboard, like it was a license to be rude. She drove a spotless white BMW and used it like a moving throne, slow cruising through the neighborhood, scanning for trash cans, weeds, unapproved wreaths, whatever made her feel important that week. The community center sat behind my property, and right next to it, a perfectly normal parking lot. Not small, not broken, not complicated. But Diane figured out if she cut across my corner lot, she could park 15 feet from the side door instead of walking like the rest of us. The first time she did it, I walked out and tried to be polite. "Hey, Diane, could you not drive on my lawn?" She didn't even look at me. She just tapped her clipboard and said, "It's HOA business, Mark. Your grass will grow back. Don't be dramatic." That was her whole thing. Say something dismissive, make you feel small, and keep moving like you're a speed bump. The second time I put up a simple rope boundary. Not a fence, not spikes, nothing aggressive, just posts and a clean white rope like a gentle reminder that this is my house, my property. She drove right through it. No hesitation. The posts snapped and tumbled, rope dragged across the mud her tires created, and she didn't even slow down. I stood at my window and watched the whole thing happen, and I felt that hot, useless kind of anger. The kind that doesn't fix anything, it just burns calories you can't spare. I called the HOA office. I emailed the board. I asked calmly for her to stop. A white envelope showed up 2 days later. Not an apology. A violation notice. Unapproved exterior modification creating safety hazards and a threat of fines if I didn't remove the barrier. Diane had signed it like she was signing a court order. I removed the rope that afternoon because I didn't have the money to gamble with daily fines. But the rage stayed. Not loud rage, quiet rage. The kind where you start paying attention. And she kept doing it. Same path, same angle, same tire marks. Every time her BMW cut across my grass like it was a shortcut on a map she owned. After a while I could tell where her wheels would land before they landed there. I tried signs next: bright, clear, impossible to miss. Private property. No vehicle access. I kept them tasteful because I knew how these people were. The minute you look hostile, they act like you're the problem. The next afternoon I heard metal clatter, and I watched Diane's BMW push 2 signs right over. One post snapped at the base. The yellow panels twisted like soda cans. Then 3 catering vans followed her across my lawn. That's when it stopped being a nuisance and turned into damage. Real damage. Deep ruts. Torn sod. A muffled crunch I felt in my chest because I knew exactly what it was: my sprinkler line. A day later, another envelope. Another violation. And an invoice like it was normal, claiming I owed money for landscaping damage to community property caused by my improper signage. I sat at my kitchen table with that invoice in my hands and just stared. Because it wasn't only arrogant, it was a lie with a straight face. There was a moment that night, just a moment, where I felt drained enough to think maybe I should drop it. Not because I thought I was wrong, but because I thought realistically I might lose anyway. Diane had time, money, and a whole little bureaucracy built to wear people down. And then I pictured her doing this to the next homeowner, an older couple, a young family, someone who couldn't take a hit like this. That's what pushed me back upright. If you want to play power games, fine. But I'm an engineer. I don't win by yelling. I win by documenting, measuring, and making the truth impossible to ignore. So I set up cameras. On my property, clear angles, obvious placement, nothing sneaky. I kept a simple log: dates, times, photos, copies of every letter, every fine, every invoice. I talked to my neighbor Jake Miller, a retired insurance adjuster. He listened for about 30 seconds, then said, "She's not just being a bully, Mark. She's running a pattern." He told me he'd seen similar stuff: HOA leaders using events as excuses, claiming repairs, padding invoices, sending money to friendly vendors. It wasn't guaranteed, but it was familiar. 2 days after my cameras went up, Diane's lawyer sent me a letter. Not kidding. A downtown firm with fancy letterhead accused me of harassment and surveillance, threatened a restraining order if I kept recording her legitimate community activities. That phrase, legitimate community activities, almost made me laugh out loud, because what she meant was, stop collecting evidence. I didn't respond with an argument. I responded with process. I emailed the entire HOA board, not just Diane. Please confirm in writing that the HOA authorizes vehicles to enter and park on my private lawn. No one answered, and that silence told me everything I needed. When people won't put something in writing, it's because they don't want it read out loud later. Then came the fundraiser announcement. Diane posted a notice on my door like she was tagging a hydrant. Auxiliary parking will utilize the Reynolds front lawn due to high attendance. She even cited an emergency provision that, when I looked it up, had nothing to do with parking. I called my insurance company and asked for a claims adjuster again. I forwarded the lawyer letter. I sent them the video clips. I asked plainly to connect me with their fraud department because I was done pretending this was normal. I also tipped a local investigative reporter, not because I love drama, but because Diane did. And people like her hate daylight. The day of the event arrived with perfect weather, of course. Warm, crisp air, the kind that makes the neighborhood look like a brochure. Tents went up behind my yard at the community center. Valet workers showed up in white gloves like this was a wedding. Then they started waving cars onto my lawn. BMWs, Teslas, luxury SUVs, one after another, tires pressing my grass flat, sinking into soft spots, carving lines where my sprinkler system used to work. I stood inside watching through the blinds, and the anger came back sharp, bitter, mixed with something heavier, because it felt humiliating, honestly, like I was being forced to donate my property to someone else's ego. At 5:30, a news van pulled in. That's when I knew Diane wanted more than parking. She wanted a story. She wanted the footage to make it look like I supported the community, like I agreed, like I was part of her little narrative. I grabbed my folder, printed emails, violation notices, the lawyer letter, repair estimates, photos, and stepped outside. I didn't storm out. I walked, calm, straight-backed, like I was walking into a meeting where I already knew the numbers. Diane spotted me and marched over, fast heels stabbing the grass like she was punishing it. "Mark," she said loudly, smiling for the crowd, "don't do this. It's for charity." Her smile didn't reach her eyes. It was a warning with lipstick on it. I looked at her. BMW sitting inches from my driveway edge, exactly where it always tried to sit, and I looked at the cameras setting up across the way. "Diane," I said, "steady charity doesn't give you a free pass to trespass." Her expression tightened, and she leaned in like we were sharing a secret. "You're going to embarrass yourself," she hissed. I held up my phone. "I'm recording my own property," I said, "and I'm done paying fines for protecting it." She raised her clipboard like it was a shield. The HOA. She didn't finish, because at that exact moment, a county sheriff's vehicle rolled into the parking lot. Then another car behind it, unmarked, quiet, purposeful. 2 officials stepped out and walked right toward Diane like they knew her name already. The news camera swung toward us, and I could practically feel the neighborhood holding its breath. One of the officials asked calmly, "Ms. Whitmore." Diane's voice turned sugary. "Yes, hi. Are you here for the event we're raising?" "Is that your vehicle?" he asked, pointing at the BMW sitting on my grass. She hesitated just enough to show fear, then said, "Yes." "And do you have written permission from the homeowner to park it on his private property?" Diane opened her mouth. Nothing came out. The sheriff's deputy turned to the valet workers. "Stop directing cars onto the lawn. This is private property. Move vehicles to the lot and street parking." Diane's face changed, like someone yanked the plug on her confidence. "Excuse me," she snapped loud now because she couldn't help herself. The other official handed her a document. You are being notified to preserve all HOA financial records related to event expenses, repairs, and claims, he said, voice flat. Do not destroy anything. The clipboard in Diane's hand tilted, and for a second I thought she might drop it. Her eyes flicked to the crowd, to the cameras, to me, like she was looking for someone she could still intimidate. And then the tow truck rolled up. Big tires, heavy chain, no drama, just procedure. The driver stepped out, glanced at the deputy, then at the BMW, and went to work. Chain clinked. Hook latched. Metal tightened. Diane spun toward me, rage and panic mixing into this weird, shaky glare. You can't do this. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I said, nodding toward the deputy, the officials, the cameras. You did. You just finally did it in front of people who don't answer to your clipboard. The tow truck pulled slow and steady, and Diane's BMW rolled off my lawn like it was being evicted. And Diane, H.O., a president, neighborhood dictator, queen of fines, stood there with her mouth open. No words landing, watching her power slide away on 4 tires. The last thing I saw before I turned back toward my house was the deputy gesturing for Diane to step aside, and Diane realizing too late that paper trails don't care how confident you sound. Lesson: when someone abuses power, don't match their noise. Build your proof.